The power of one. The power of two.
Don't.
The power of many.
Stop. Stop. I wanted to off myself when that happened.
That is officially the new Chatooine slogan.
Not Neverberries.
The power of two. The power of
Just
many.
you two, though. I'm not a part of it.
No, you're part of the many.
Oh, I'm the many. I'm last in line. I got
We'll
you.
be doing the chants and everything. And the little circle I have around my name, that's the scar the witches leave on you. But welcome back, everyone, to the Chatooine Show, the best and brightest podcast in the galaxy, filled with a wretched hive of scum and villainy. Here every Wednesday nights talking about all things Star Wars. I'm Star Wars only, and tonight I'm joined with Lunga and Palpamemes. Like we said, the power of one, the power of two, power of many. There's three of us. Does that put us in the mini category? How many does mini really mean?
Not many yet. I mean, with the chat, we are many. And I'm sorry, unfortunately, Exalt, no Goldman tonight. He will be back next week. But he's not for this episode.
I'll fight again.
As Forrest Gump's mom said, he's on vacation.
But the more of you that join us in the chat, the more many there is with us. So.
And the more members.
Yes.
You guys remember those? I remember.
Do you remember?
And shout out to our channel members. We do have a few of them. Tom, KD Miller, Gus, and Leor M, and my boy, your boy, that Cloney boy. Big shout out to you guys. So if you guys are watching this live or listening to it later, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And subscribe if you want to see, future episodes of us covering not one, not two, but many episodes of the Acolyte. It's going to be my new bit.
It's going to be a long night, guys. It's going to be a long night.
I'm so not excited for this episode. You guys don't understand. I just finished watching the episode from last night, maybe like 30 minutes ago. It's episode 3 of the Acolyte. It's called Destiny. And boy, is it controversial. I mean, we heard that it was going to be controversial. I think when the 4-episode premiere happened for a lot of people who got like...
Well, that's the thing
screeners.
that I was interested by is because this wasn't just a bunch of mumbo jumbos getting. These were like what would be the classical sort of doesn't very criticize Disney as much.
Yeah.
Those were the people that kind of got it.
Let's be fair. Before I get into the details yet, because we're going to get into that. I understand some of the anger, if you will, or people being upset. I get it, right? I get it. But the anticipation for the outrage made the outrage bigger than it needed to be.
Elon Musk talked about it on Twitter. Right. He made a remark about it.
It's like they were chomping at the bit to get mad. They're like, okay, it's coming. There it is.
Yeah, they built it up.
It's like a roller coaster, and you're just going up. The chains are going. It's getting kind of quiet because people are starting to get scared, and then it's just like, oh, it flattens out and goes straight.
I need
that's it.
I need the crying liberal GIF.
I got you.
Great. Oh yeah. Put up
liberal nonsense according to Donald Trump. Hashtag MAGA. He says thanks.
What great timing you have, sir, to bring that man into Chatooine.
Wrong one.
Oh,
wrong one. Good job.
Jesus.
That's why we don't trust you with the production of the show, Palpamemes.
Oh no, I never asked to be a producer here.
And neither did I. That's why we give everything with major responsibilities to Lunga. Should have given you the writing job for this episode, Lunga.
I never asked to
someone
be here,
else. Someone.
So I'm assuming, well, Lunga, I know you said you watched this episode this morning. Palpamemes, I think both of us watched it last night because we were texting right after.
Correct.
Lunga, we always start off with you. Get your 2-minute timer ready. Well, we're gonna get this show on the road, folks, and talk about
2
this
minutes
banger,
I can't do
controversial episode.
Before I get the timer going, this sums up pretty much how I feel. That pretty much just sums it up.
It's every Star Wars show.
Hey, December is going to be fun, guys. Y'all ready for Skeleton Crew?
Oh yeah,
I already know his rating of Skeleton Crew. It's going to be 0.
Yeah, exactly.
5 kids. He's going to be like, this is awful.
There's my timer. So, going into this episode, there was trepidation already because everyone's saying, even though I didn't, buy into it, I'm like, I'm going to watch this and just want to see it. There was already trepidation, and I wasn't surprised with what I saw. I knew it was going to be something about their youth. I knew it was going to involve their mothers and where they came from. So I'm like, okay, it's cool. A little background, right? I'm fine with that. That's good. If it was a little background. It was a lot of
40
background.
minutes.
But when I say a lot of background, it doesn't mean there was a lot of things. It means there was a lot of one thing. That's all they went on. So it is not anywhere near my favorite episode. It won't get anywhere near the rating of the first two. It doesn't mean I hate the series. It doesn't mean I'm out. It doesn't mean I'm not looking forward to what's coming. I still am. But there were some major problems here. Some major problems with this one. And that I'll just leave my intro short there. I only need a minute of time for that.
Nice and to the point. All right, Falcon Memes. What was your initial reaction to watching this episode last night?
Well, first of all, unfortunately, I only got to watch this episode once. I try and usually watch them twice, but my initial reaction was I felt like I got blue balls, because for weeks now, they were hyping up that this is going to be the destruction, like the nuclear weapon, right? Right? The hydrogen bomb was getting laid upon Star Wars with this episode. And so I was more excited for that than just wanting to enjoy the episode. And then I watched it and I'm just left. I felt empty, I guess would be my initial reaction. No, this wasn't something that destroyed Star Wars and was a slap in the face to George Lucas, from what I'm aware of. But at the same time, this episode was not good. It just wasn't that good. The only things I really like about it are some of the mysterious aspects of it, the mystery aspect of, well, who did kill these witches? Was it that that Dathomir with the spikes, the horns? Was it her? Was she a part of it because she saw what was coming? I believe it was the Jedi, and I believe Soul was coming in too late. Obviously, the big controversy that we're seeing is the born from the Force out of like the will of the witches. I think that's kind of lame, but at the same time, it's so vague that we really don't know how it happened or why it's happening. There's just a lot of questions. And my problem with this is I think we're going to get Bad Batched again. I think we're not going to get any answers for these questions. And that's unfortunate. So I feel in the middle. I'm torn because on one hand, I'm like, this episode was kind of balls. On the other hand, I'm like, well, it wasn't like, I'm seeing people on Twitter just earlier literally saying that this makes The Last Jedi look good. And these are people who, well, probably say not so nice things to Rian Johnson. And so seeing that, it feels like a complete over exaggeration, but my time's ended up here.
Okay, I took off the buzzer for a reason. Don't add it. Now I gotta edit that out of the podcast. Thank you.
Well, I'll give my reaction to this last night because I did see it twice. So I saw it last night and I thought, all right, this isn't. I thought it was very character driven, character focused. Clearly, what kills me with this episode is that it is the longest of the three that we have so far. And the first two episodes already give you a lot of background for what has happened and everything. And then for this episode to be an entire flashback episode and try to give you that background, but then leave you wanting even more answers because you have a lot more questions now. Like Palmy was just saying okay, the witches clearly didn't die in the fire. I'm not big on like the outrage of how they created the twins, Osha and May, because the way they explained it, she's like, I created them. It's like, okay, so clearly you did some witch magic to do it. But then the question is, well, how did you do it? Like, what did you do? If I had seen the ritual of her creating the kids by maybe sacrificing like 2 other people or something like that, I'd be like, okay, I buy this. But this episode created a lot of questions and like a storyline that I wasn't all that interested in to begin with. They didn't build up a lot of interest in Osha and May from the first 2 episodes, in my opinion. There's not enough going on with them where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see the storyline play out. I tuned into the Acolyte for the Sith, the Rule of Two, and all that stuff. It's kind of what I feel like the premise of the show is about. We're 3 episodes in, and I really don't know where the story is going. And I think part of that is, good in a way of like, okay, maybe they will surprise me. But I don't like the idea that I have to keep watching the show for it to become good. And 3 episodes in, we only have 5 more to go, and I'm kind of indifferent with the show. I could not watch another episode, and at the moment I wouldn't care. I'd be like, all right, it is what it is. It's like trying too hard in some points, and the writing is just very cringe in some points. Like The acting in this was not good. The writing, the Power 1, the Power 2, Power Mini, awful. Like it's watering down the franchise in a lot of ways where it's like, are you trying to piss people off? But since I have 4 seconds, I don't want to ramble on. You can end my time.
Okay.
I want to bring up this comment from Jedi of Chicago. I really like it. He says the first 2 episodes told us what happened. This episode showed us what happened, and I think that's a big problem with this. Is it's like
it's a very good point.
I was gonna comment on that too. It's a big difference.
Well, here I am.
Say what you're saying. Finish what you're saying.
I was just gonna say I think that is a fair point. Of this episode felt like it dragged on because of that.
I mean, it did, but here's the thing: this episode didn't it wasn't meant to, and that's not what it did show us. Yes, it did show us what happened, right? But that's not what it was. What the episode was about was to show us, because we did not know why May and Osha were at odds. Okay, we just knew May set the fire, and they both thought each other was dead. So this, what like only said about being character driven, that's what it was. The point of it was to show us why these 2 sisters were at odds with each other, why they are this light side and dark side kind of opposing forces. Okay, that's what it was meant to show us. So it wasn't meant to show us what happened, because we knew what happened. They just showed us why they're at odds while showing us what happened.
Kind of like the prequel trilogy to the original trilogy. We knew what happened from sentences, but now that's fair.
Right. Yeah, this kind of fleshed it out a little bit more. And it makes sense what they were trying to do, but like I was saying, I think my problem is I liked what you said earlier, Palpatine, is about being bad batched. Where at the end of this episode, there's more questions you have where you're like, I want the answers to these questions of how did you create these twins? What happened to these witches? Were the Jedi involved? And now with 5 episodes left, you're getting another flashback to May's point of view on what she saw, because she knew it's what's sad about this show to me is that there are aspects of it in terms of plot and story that are actually pretty interesting, but like we say a lot with Star Wars, it always goes back to the execution of it. And the execution in this is not all that great. And it surprises me because we talked about for years how the production on this show seemed pretty good, and the way they were doing it, we were happy that they have a writer's room and everything like that. But I look at this and I'm like, how does a writer's room miss
the best
all
you
of
can
this
do?
Stuff? I love that. That's one of my favorite things. Is this really the best you can do?
Yeah, with your point on that, because we talked yesterday night, and the thing that really just it stuck out like a sore thumb to me is the outdoor scenes in the daylight and that forestry area. I just thought that gave me flashbacks to the Boba Fett episode of The Mandalorian season 2. I thought that looked horrible. I mean, being genuine, obviously it's not as important as the story elements, but it was the layers on top of one another where I'm just like, man, I'm just not invested into this part, and there's a lot of things taking me out of it with the writing, and now the production of it just looks not the best.
See, and
I will say I think this one was
with.
directed better.
Yes, it was directed better. It was directed by he of one name, Kogonada was the director.
I thought that was interesting. When I saw the directed by, I was like, oh, okay.
Yes, he's one name. Interestingly enough, and this is the thing that kind of worried. There's 3 writer credits for this one. Leslie Headland is one of them. And then there were 2 others, Jasmine Flournoy and Eileen Shim. Jasmine Flournoy literally has this is her first actual writing credit.
Great.
The other ones were writer assistant, and stuff like that. This is her first actual writing assistant. Eileen Shim, she has one show, some Hulu show of some teenage girls, some horror teenage girls thing that she has 26 episodes of on that one. But that's one other thing, and that's about it. So.
This isn't Martin Scorsese, all right?
This is where it gets kind of annoying sometimes with Lucasfilm. It's like, come on, bro. I think I said this a week ago.
No, it was Leslie. Leslie put the writing team together.
But it's like looking at this and then looking at Andor, and I always compare things to Andor because Andor is made by a bunch of professionals, in the industry. They took professional care. I mean, 200 million, and this show is 180 million, and I don't think this episode looked all that bad. Like I said, I actually thought this episode was directed a lot better than the last 2 episodes. People complained about the pacing and the directing in this episode. I thought it was
that was fine.
I thought
editing
you
was
had
fine.
you had establishing shots for once, you know, like when they go to a location, even the opening, like they give you an establishing shot of what the surrounding is like, and then you get the close-ups and see the characters. Whereas in the 2 episodes directed by Leslie Headland, you get maybe an establishing shot of the Jedi Temple, but you don't get them walking into a
Right.
room and everything. There's a scene where they walk into their little village and everything, and it
There was
follows
one
everything.
scene. The one. Well, I mean, the Jedi kind of walked into their camp very abruptly. I'm like, that was the word part that kind of threw me off.
Stuff
I'm
like that
this was
is where it
this
kinda...
was kind of like bam, like whoa. So we go from they're setting up a camp or their ship's coming to bam, here they're just walking in. You know, it's like okay, you know, we got nothing of that. We could at least follow them for like 30 seconds, you know, just to see where they're coming from or something. But other than that, like yeah, I agree with you. The shot selection was decent. The direction I think was fine. You know, even though you guys complain about the production value, I don't think the production value was that great. There's a few CGI elements, like by the tree, that didn't look great, but
for me, I guess for me, I should make it more clear. I think for me, it was the setting of that daytime outside planet.
The tree,
when they're by
the tree or whatever, the bunch tree.
No, whenever they do the testing, I thought that looked. Okay. I just it reminded
they were
me
inside
of
the ship when they did the testing.
No, but they start outside for a lot of it, right? And then they come outside. Anyways, the setting of that, it just. I hate to be the guy, but like it doesn't look like Star Wars, but it just I'm sorry, it just looked like someone went to their forest.
That's a valid criticism.
I know, but it's hard to like
articulate what that actually.
Yeah, articulate. Where it's like
it's didn't they say that about something about like porn and like Congress, where they were like, you know, I can't describe it, but I know it when I see it, kind of thing. Like that is
like we can all kind of agree consciously, like and that's how it felt. I mean,
you know it when you see it.
This basic looking forestry planet. I live in Oklahoma. I see places like that literally every corner I turn. And so I don't know.
You're a big dust bowl. There's no trees in Oklahoma. What are you talking about?
It's also no people in Oklahoma.
So they say.
Tumbleweeds.
He's the only one.
They say. Maybe if you go like real South Oklahoma.
That room he's in is the only building that has ever been in Oklahoma.
No, it's like Napoleon Dynamite.
That paneling is the most wood there is in his city.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. No, but no, the direction with this one is better, but I do think it is kind of crazy that it's a $180 million Star Wars show. Got more than Kenobi, and
trying to figure out where that money's going, because
I thought that too, because I was like, it's not, it can't be the actors.
The fight scenes, the battle scenes,
choreography's been good.
I know, but it's not.
Is
it so good to make you feel that Star Wars magic? And like we were saying, like you can look and see and get that feeling of Star Wars. This doesn't. That was one thing I was asking myself when I was watching it about an hour ago. I was like, you know, am I supposed to have fun with this? You know, because I look back at the first 3 episodes of The Mandalorian, like it had drama, it had stakes. You were interested you're interested in the characters in the plot, and you were having fun while doing it. There were aspects of it where it's like, oh, he's just learning how to ride this creature, and then he goes off and rides it and like saves the child or whatever. Like it's stuff like that where like this was actually kind of fun. You know, him dealing with the Jawas. There's nothing like fun about this series so far, and.
I don't think. Okay, I get what you're saying. That I want to push back. I don't think it's a matter of having fun or not. Andor wasn't a very fun and exhilarating show, but they got us to care so deeply about the characters, the story.
Well, no, but it had fun moments in it where, like you're saying, it builds interest in the characters. So when Andor
I see what you're saying. But here's
drive
we're
off,
digressing a little. We're digressing a little bit.
Well, I want to bring us back then real quick, because that's what I was going to say earlier. Is like that's a big problem I have with this show. Is even though we're only 3 episodes in, I'm so torn, because on one hand, I do kind of like the storyline they have going on. I do like the mystery of the Sith. On the other hand, it's falling so short of just being fine, and that's just what frustrates me. And it's just so consistent with these shows.
Yeah. Go ahead. Only.
I was going to say, into like the deeper stuff of like the actual nitty gritty of the show. Of course, the big topic right now is the mother lady creating Osha and May.
Are we going to jump to that immediately? Can we talk about some of the other stuff first?
What's the topic?
I mean, do you want to? I mean, for me, there's not so much I want to talk about. I feel like this is the big.
Well, I know. I think there's a lot to dissect in this episode. Like I would say, start with the witches right there, because we all had thoughts about that. Let's start.
Oh,
with
the Coven,
this Coven of witches. Okay, so I think that's a good place to start. Do you want me to go? I can go.
Go ahead.
I have thoughts. So my initial reaction is they're very close to. They even had a Zabrak there, even though technically the Dathomirians are human females and the Zabrak males are who they mate with. But you had a Zabrak female, Coral, who's one of the mothers. There, I thought that there was going to be kind of a Night Sister splinter group or something, right? It's not. So we already have an established set of witches in the Star Wars universe that use the Force differently, right? That are very compelling, people know, are very familiar with, are all female, okay? That actually had a planet that we just, visited with the Morgan Elsbeth stuff in Tales of the Empire and in Ahsoka. And we, you would think that they would go with that instead of making a whole new branch of witches, which now you have to create a whole bunch of lore around, which they didn't do. They just
had a whole episode
threw us these witches and gave us nothing. You gave me 30 minutes of Osha and May slapping each other and pulling books out of each other's hands. No, you can't see this. No, I want this. You can't. We get 30 minutes of that. Could you give me 25 minutes of that and 5 minutes on a little bit of lore about these witches so you make me invested in them? You didn't. And like Palpatine said earlier, I really think this is one of those things. We're not going to get anything about them.
They're all dead.
That's all we know. They're dead, which that's another thing. Can we, we're going to get into that too on how they died, right? Apparently they're setting us up to, they let Osha, or at least I think Sol believes this too. I think he was looking for Osha when whatever happened. That's why he's the one who doesn't really know. No. They're trying to make that Sol and Osha believe the fire killed them, right? Which is weird because the fire was around the whole place and where they were was no fire and they were literally in one giant pile, which I still don't understand.
But when Osha wakes up, she doesn't remember a thing.
Right.
So he can convolute this story because she doesn't remember.
Right. Either she doesn't remember or maybe they fucked with her head too with some Force shit. I don't know. Who knows? But thank you, Gus. Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, what a sweetheart. Channel member
very much.
And gives us, bill support over here. Thank you very much, Gus.
Thank you,
Gus. You guys want to be a member like him, you got a member.
Gotta remember to be a member.
But yeah, you don't they don't give us anything about these wishes, at all to make me care about them. And it's like, and you didn't even have to, you could have just used the Night Sisters or not, even make them a splinter group of the Night Sisters, right? That had their own philosophy. You could have even did that. And at least there would have been a thread of familiarity, right?
Well, because they give you hints of lore. Like they talk about how they were exiled, they were hunted down, and only and like they were on the brink of extinction. All of those like little tidbits.
Let's
of
not
details
forget they were hunted down because they were women and they had power. That's why they were hunted down.
Oh, I forgot that.
That's it. That's the patriarchy in Star Wars.
That is not me. That is not me making it up. That's literally what she said.
I know.
Who said that? Who said that?
Powerful women like us. The mother, Anastasia.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's correct. My thoughts on it.
The actress did a spectacular job, by the way, as Mother Anastasia.
The mother,
she's cool. Solid.
I like her, and again, that's. It's so frustrating with the show because it's so torn because it's like, I'm indifferent to you guys. I actually thought the kid actresses did a pretty decent job. They're kind of convincing for being kid actresses. And so that's what's so annoying is I'm like, we have good pieces, but they're just not being put together right. And that's what's so frustrating with this show. Again, here's my thing. We're only 3 episodes in, right? We've got ways to go. Could this show just miraculously change and now like suddenly, okay, everything's coming together. We're getting all these answers. Sure. And so that's why I don't want to be too doom and gloom about it, right? Because there is the chance, and I'm always open-minded to give the opportunity for this to work. But from what they're giving me, if I was a casual audience member, if I was a casual Star Wars fan, it would be very, very easy for me to just turn the show off and not watch another.
Absolutely. I mean, but and you say we're only 3 episodes in. For me, it's like, oh my gosh, we're 3. The next episode is the halfway mark of the season, or possibly the series. And I will say, with this already, looking at like 3 episodes of The Acolyte, I don't want to risk a second season. I like the question is like, do you want more of this? It's like, okay, well, if episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 happen to just be Oh my God, 10 out of 10s. I can't believe it. I didn't see that coming. Darth Plagueis came in and great gave birth to Anakin, little orphan Annie, and everything, and time traveled. I would be down with it. Or if they actually pulled it off like that. I don't feel like the way this is going, that's how it's gonna go.
I'm worried one thing, and the people who are screaming right now, the outrage group, are gonna be even more outraged. I have a feeling that through this, where the Sith connection is and all this stuff, and how it gets to Plagueis and maybe Tenebrous, whatever the case is, that what they did with Osha and May is what gives Plagueis the idea of being able to.
But that's going to upset so many fans because you have a.
But they're going to say, but it's still Plagueis. Plagueis still, that all still happens. It's still
and that's the problem. That's the problem. That because I think it was only that said it's like they have to know this is going to piss people off, but they can play semantics and they're like, well, technically.
It's still canon.
Technically, the Plagueis story isn't even canon, so they can do whatever they want. But it's still, it seems like, and I'm sure we'll get to this in depth, it seems more like a slap in the face. And it's so weird because the Jedi know they were born from no father. They know they're born of the manipulation of the Force. Okay, they train her, bad things happened, and then they bring Anakin on board generations later. And so there's got to be some resolution with the Jedi Order for this. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of questions I have for their thought process and everything.
I'm not too worried about that aspect of it, honestly, because I can, it's 100 years before the Phantom Menace. I could understand that there's going to be a bunch of Jedi who come and go during that time frame, who live and die and everything. They might not be
the majority of the
prequel
masters are still alive during this part. You have Yara Poof, you have Plo Koon, you have plenty of them.
Plo Koon, we don't know for sure. They're saying maybe.
Well, Plo's alive. Plo's alive during this time.
Okay, but they might be alive, but I haven't seen them. Or that, like, how do I know they know about this? I'm not saying he'll be in the show,
but my point was, like,
Yoda's not. They said categorically Yoda's not in the show.
My point
I would hope
is,
not at this point.
In the story, in the canon, right, these Jedi are alive. So it'd be really silly of them to just be like, oh, what happened there?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
but
think
again,
it's
this
that
could
big
get
of a deal.
resolved.
I think for me with this is, like Lunga was saying, you have this witch group over here that kind of just came out of nowhere. They have a different view and aspect on the Force, and we don't really get a lot of lore exploration with them or explanations either. And
you had a long episode to do it. You could have just 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes is a long time, believe it or not. 5 minutes
or anything, yes.
Okay, even if you did 2 or 3 minutes, it's like just give us a little background on them, other than giving me a 5-minute long scene about pulling strings and looking at them fighting in the background, and then I'm gonna use the Force when it's not the Force, and I'm gonna thread push you, even though it's literally a Force push what you did. But that's what I'm gonna do to these kids. You did all that when it's like you could have gave us a little bit of history. It's
I
one
think
or the other.
They're planting the seeds of things where they want to keep you interested in questioning things, so they can give you reveals and be like,
that they don't answer, which we've talked about.
Yes, but we don't know. I mean, that's my big problem with the show so far. Is like, okay, we're almost halfway in, and I really need to see how this ends to really
Chekhov's
say
gun.
if you did this right. It is a Chekhov's gun
in there
thing.
if you're not going to use them.
But hang on. Here's one thing I want to throw in there. There is a part where the mother. What's her name? Sorry,
Anasea.
Mother Anasea, when she gives May the power of Ra from the witch tribe or whatever, she says, "When I die, like, will you keep our legacy going and everything?" She did that to May, but she didn't do that to Osha. Do you guys think that's
Osha?
Going to become an important factor?
With Osha, she said, "Are you going to take over for me when I'm gone?" She was supposed to take over. She was supposed to be the next mother. She was supposed to be Mother Osha. That's what her role was.
I didn't catch that. I thought she just said the exact same thing to both of them. But
no, she said, "Would you take over?"
Way,
she's like,
Osha said yes, hesitantly, but she did say yes. But they didn't do like the little thing on her forehead.
Yeah.
But do you think the thing they put on May's forehead like that has any significance to going forward? Like maybe the twist is going to be
she's a new mother now.
Yeah, that May's just trying to rebuild this witch tribe in order to. I don't know.
I think they put it on so you can tell
the major difference is thematically.
Outside of that.
But it's because we saw Indara. She noticed she moved her hair and she saw that, that's how she knew it was May when she saw the thing on her head.
And we have that backstory now with this episode.
Because that comes on when you become ascended. When you go up and you get ascended, that's when you get the thing on your head. Osha didn't get to do that because that's when they were interrupted, right? When she kind of said yes, and then the whole ceremony got interrupted, and so she doesn't have that on her. So it is going to play just for the fact that they kind of foreshadowed that with Indara, looking at her forehead. So most likely it's going to have something to play with it. I don't think it's going to be huge, but it's going to be in there. What was there another question with that, or was that the only thing? Was that? I thought there was something else.
I think it was the only question, but I do have another question about the witches that I want to ask before I forget. You guys remember like that scene? You remember? You remember that scene with the? They have like this machine, the witches. You see that big
like
machine
the
that
generator
exploded?
or whatever.
Yeah. What's going on with that? Like,
The
I feel
fuck
like
was
there's
that?
something.
I think
know.
it's just their power generator. You're
That's
talking
what
about
I figured.
hang
That's what I
on.
figured.
But I did find it kind of funny that May sets a fire and then that blows up this machine thing, this generator. It seemed like that had some significance to it because that blew up after she lit the fire and everything. It didn't seem like they were in. Like,
it's just a plot device. It's just a plot device for why this fire got so big and so bad. That's all.
But I'm just trying to find connections to what even happened to these. This sounds like I'm saying bitches, but witches. What happened to these witches?
That's the thing.
They all died.
Really confusing me.
They all died laying on the floor, and then the mother was outside when she was dead.
Yeah, and they did it on purpose, right? Because they wanted to give us the suspense of, well, this is what Osha thinks happened, and not show us what how they died, right? Just
because we only saw Osha's point of view in this episode.
So they're doing that purposely so they can hit us with May's side later, right? For storytelling reasons, okay? But here's the thing. We know where it's headed, right? Just from the whole story thing with Torben, we thought we were doing the right thing and all this shit, and she's killing you. We know what happened. We know we know the Jedi killed him. Okay? That's what happened. They went all Anakin in the Jedi Temple, and they just sliced and diced him and took them all down, right?
But we didn't see any lightsaber scars.
Well, they were all face down in a giant pile.
They're doing that on purpose. They're deliberately leaving that out so you can't see.
How do you slaughter everyone with lightsabers and they all are just in one pile? That's one thing I don't understand. Okay, I said Mother was a little bit off from the rest of them, but they're all in just one giant pile. I don't know how that works. But the other thing is like, how do we go from May first taking this candle looking thing, starting in a fire in something that apparently looks like it was made out of stone, okay, to where just her room is on fire, to going to this generator room and that explodes, to the whole structure being on fire, to the Jedi coming in and killing everybody? It's like what?
Yeah,
well, and when the witches died, you heard like a rumble kind of thing, and them all scream at once. So it seems like they all died in like one moment.
Could have been a force thing moment. Or something.
Yeah. Well, but that's why I brought up the generator. Like maybe there's something connected to it.
And this might be a kind of wacky theory, but could it have been this Sith master kind of puppeteering all this stuff? I don't know. For all we know, it could have been May, and she just did a force bomb or something like that. Who knows?
If it was kind of
killed her whole family, no.
She's gonna kill her own sister.
She was trying to kill. She was actively trying to kill Osha. But the point she's killing Jedi is because she blames them for their deaths.
But even
right.
Osha or May trying to kill Osha, it did kind of seem like it just came out of nowhere. I didn't feel like there was a build up to her being like resentful enough to be like, I'm gonna kill you. Like when she said that,
it reminded me.
The whole episode was building that up because they reminded us over and over again of how.
But here's my thing.
There's a difference between twins fighting and then I'm going to kill you.
No, it's more than that. It was Osha saying, I don't want to be with you. Twins. Remember, being together is a big thing with twins.
There's a personal
and Osha saying, I don't want to be with you my whole life. I want to be on my own. That is a personal betrayal to me. I can understand.
It reminded me of Anakin Revenge of the Sith. As someone who does like episode 3, it reminds me of Anakin Revenge of the Sith, where it just still feels like.
And that's where someone has the dark side in them.
Sudden.
The hate boils.
I get that. Yeah.
But
especially for a kid.
But I also think a part of it is, and this is what I was alluding to earlier, is she had just became a witch. She ascended. I think there's some influence that they're having over May that is. I mean, we just saw her control Torben or whatever his name is. Torbjorn is from Overwatch.
Torben. No. Torbjorn. No, Torben.
That's my boy.
Yeah,
that's my boy. But even with So with Torben's death, he says to May before he takes the thing, he goes like,
we thought
we
we
were
were
doing the right thing. And after seeing this episode, it still makes you wonder what is he talking about? Like, there's got to be something more to it. And so that's where it's like it's a double-edged sword where it's like, okay, so if they do another flashback explaining May's point of view, I'm going to be annoyed because
we gotta see how they died.
Exactly. But I'm going to be annoyed because I'm like, dang, you just had an entire episode to do that and you didn't, just to make it even more interesting.
They did, but they didn't want to reveal that yet. That's why.
I know. But
that tells me this episode either needed to be shorter or it needed to explain more of the witches. That's another way to eat up time, right? Or at the very least, bookend it to where at the beginning of the episode, we go to real time with Osha or May, right? And then they're thinking, and then it goes to this. And then the last 5 minutes of the episode is back in real time. Okay. Then the May flashback would have made a little more sense. Or it wouldn't have been, as much like we had this entire episode that seemed to be revolving around them, and we still got to get May's later.
Well, it also goes back to the directing of the episodes where I said like the past two with the scene with the Sith apprentice or master or the guy with the mask, whoever he is, and then the scene with the Wookiee Jedi, Kalnaka, I think is his name. Both those endings were so abrupt and weird, and especially looking in hindsight, looking at episode 2 with Kalnaka like being on that forest planet, you would think I don't know if you've ever seen the show ever, but normally when they end with something like that, it's in the next episode.
Leads into the next one.
Yeah, and that's what's annoying is
which is what they did a lot with the Mandalorian. They did a lot with the Mandalorian.
Yes, it builds up interest to go. It's a serial TV of like tune in next week to see what happens on the Mandalorian.
Well, I
don't
said
get that with this.
I said this last week. I said what we have here, the format they're going to go with is the murder of the week, and this fits perfectly with it. Next week is going to be the murder of that Wookiee thing, right? And so I don't know. It feels weird. It really does feel odd to throw that in there again, like you said in hindsight.
And can we mention how she's supposed to kill a Jedi without weapons? She's not killing that Wookiee with her hands or the Force. It's just.
I'd love to see that. That'd be funny. That'd be funny.
And she's not killing Soul unless Soul does this whole sacrifice thing where he,
just punch him to death. See, I also don't understand that. Like, is she supposed to like? I mean, I'm assuming probably choke to death or something like that. You could do that, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm pretty confident the next episode is going to have the scene in the trailer where the Sith or whoever fights all the Jedi, because it looks like it's all on the Forest planet, Kanaka and whatever. I think that's going to happen in the next episode. So I think people who have seen the first four have said this next one's the best.
Well, people say that, but episode 4 is only 30 minutes long, and so
it's going to be all battle. It's going to be 50 minutes of battle.
Yeah, and it's fine. That doesn't make it inherently bad or anything, but with how much this episode drug on. Exactly. And that's what some people were saying is the fights, as cool as they look, they lack that substance, but we'll find out next week.
Right. But again, my biggest issue is that you had this extremely long episode that you could have did so much with. And not even saying you have to include May's side. I understand thematically why you want to say that for later. There's stuff that happens there that you don't want to reveal yet. Okay, I get that. Even though we know what it is. You just don't know the how. We know what. We just don't know how. But you had so much you could do here. You could, like I said, 100 over and over again. You could explain more lore about the witches. You could have delved more into that history. Give us a little more information on it. There could have been some hints on. It seems like his dark side. You brought up how they kind of took over Torben's mind. His eyes turned all black and stuff, right? And she mentions that the reason why they're hunted is because just like the Night Sisters, it's the same reason, because their powers are considered dark. Okay, They tap into the dark side. It doesn't mean they're evil or dark side users, but they do tap into the dark side. Obviously, that thing with Torben was definitely not light side.
Okay. No. I'm surprised the Jedi didn't pull out the light. I would have pulled up on the spot when that did. Would
that be called the dark thread instead of the dark side? So it's the dark thread.
That's we talked about that before the show. This is called thread for them. It's not the Force,
which is fine. That doesn't bother me.
It's their own interpretation.
Religions and everything.
Yeah, I'm fine with multiple
interpretations.
The Night Sisters, I think it's cool that they're using like sorcerers, right? I like that. I like that about the Night Sisters. And I don't mind having a different interpretation of it here either. That's cool. But give me something other than her just explaining it to a classroom like we're one of the fucking kids. Like give me something of the lore. Why, other than we were chased because we were women and we have power. That's not lore. That's That's giving that's injecting misogyny into a galaxy that's pretty egalitarian. Okay,
that's the point someone made. Is it's like, where is this patriarchy coming from? Because in the Star Wars canon, from my understanding, I could be wrong.
Doesn't happen to the Night Sisters.
There's not a patriarchy.
The Night Sisters
because they're witches. You guys don't understand. It's because
so are they. So are the Night Sisters.
Yeah, witches scare me, dude.
Burn them at the stake.
Come on.
That's what they want to do.
Against them too. Look at what they do to that little kid.
I think these witches are so crazy that even the other witches are like, we don't mess with those witches.
Oh,
I think that's what's going on.
There's
a
lot of people talking about, and this kind of plays into what I'll only talk about, how the Jedi are always made to look like they're always fucking up and they're always doing this stuff. But it's ridiculous. Like, can we mention how they're basically, there's people all over the internet talking about how, oh yes, they're the Jedi, they're fucking like kidnappers. They're just taking kids. Okay, I don't know how many times they said in an episode we don't take children. We're not here to take your children. And they were only going to take Osha because she wanted to go. They weren't going to take May. They were going to test her because they catalog who has powers, right? It's kind of like police fingerprinting to make sure, so they know, put them in the database. You know what I mean?
They even asked for permission to test both of them.
Right. They asked for permission. They weren't going to steal the kids. Okay. Mm-hmm. And even Anastasia, even though she was not happy about it because she saw Osha wanted to go, she was becoming accepting of it, right? And Coral, I hated the character. I hated the actress. I just hated everything about that character.
Was that the Dathomirian?
Yes. She looked cool. The Zabrak. Yeah, the Zabrak. She looked cool, but her line seems so forced. You know what I mean? And I maybe it's because she's a Zabrak. That's how Zabraks are. You know, but it seemed very forced, and the anger. It's like she has all this displaced anger, unresolved anger, when it's like, explain to me why. What why are these demented monks or delirious monks, whatever she called the Jedi? Why do they hate the Jedi so much? You haven't told me why you hate the Jedi so much. You haven't explained that to me at all. Why do you hate the Jedi? Give me a reason. Even if it's a dumb reason, at least it's a reason, right? Give me something.
And they say that they were exiled and everything about the bringing of extinction.
Yeah, but you tell me the Jedi did that to them?
That's what I'm saying. It's like okay, by who? By who? Was it the witches? Maybe the
galaxy.
Sith?
She said the galaxy. The galaxy fears women like us who can control this power. That's what she said.
Yeah. And I don't know if
I mean, in all fairness, Lunga, I mean, there's people in our world that
during the
think
High
like
Republic, there is the Chancellor is a woman.
It's a
Chancellor is a woman during the High Republic. What was her name? What was her name? Does anyone remember? The High Republic.
Hold on.
Chancellor.
Avar Chris?
Yeah,
the Chancellor.
No, that was the Jedi. Not the Chancellor.
Jedi.
It was an Indian sounding name. It was an Indian sounding name. Shah or something.
But she had two badass lions.
Yeah, but Avar Chris was like pretty much the Jedi, right? She was like the
She was in charge of like taking on the Nile.
Mon Mothma was leading the rebellion. Okay,
my girl.
I can't get into Princess Leia. You know, no one looked at them and go, "Why is this woman running things?" No one said that. Not
until Rey Skywalker showed up. That's when everyone was like, "Oh, now it's too far. How dare they?"
It's like the people that make themselves a victim.
I take it back. The sequels did. Poe is like, "Why are you running stuff, Holdo?"
but Lunga, he liked Leia.
Valorium.
I can't be sexist. I love Leia. I love Princess Leia.
In the prequels, Counselor Valoran.
Oh yeah,
that was the prequels.
Lauren was.
I can't remember her name.
Phantom Man.
I can't remember her name at all. All right, but
let's get
into
Shah or something. Yeah.
You guys want to get into the real nitty gritty about what people are really upset about? Them breaking the canon again against the Chosen One. Anakin doesn't mean anything.
Oh yeah, we can get into that.
Yeah. So what was said in the episode was that the mother tells Quill, whatever her name is. I'm awful with these names. I just think some of the names are just awful though. But she tells her girl.
Yeah, I was right. Lena So. That's the name
Lena So. Thank you.
Lena So.
She ran that bitch back in the day, the High Republic. And she apparently wiped out those witches. But anywho, speaking of witches, they create these two twins, apparently because they're on the brink of extinction. This is like new life to their little tribe. But people think they're breaking canon by saying that, one of them said she carried the twins, the other one said she created them, and then Quirrell was like, "Oh, well, what if the Jedi found out how you created them?" Do you guys think that completely negates the Chosen One stuff with Anakin and how he was born, about the Force bringing him life or whatever, willing that into existence? Like, this seemed to be a big hot take. I did not feel like it was that big of a deal when I initially saw it. But what was your reaction to this? Do you think it was worth the overreaction and the
No,
controversy surrounding this episode?
no, a complete overreaction, and I'll explain. First of all, everything, because remember, there's no hard truth to the prophecies. What the prophecy is we heard about it in the prequels, right? That's when they first were told of the prophecy, and we know the lines from the prequels. And then certain books and comics, kind of picked up on it, and from there, it's kind of, it's been scattered along the Star Wars mythos. Okay, him being Anakin having no father, being born of the Force, essentially, which still wasn't really explained until this Disney thing where they try to make it seem that Palpatine was manipulating the Force, but then they kind of backtracking that now or something.
Yeah.
But him being born of the Force, the Immaculate Conception of Anakin Skywalker, is not linked to him being the Chosen One. The Chosen One prophecy is a prophecy. The prophecy did not state he would be born of the Force. That's not what it stated. There was, I believe, one line in Master and Apprentice where Obi-Wan added that line to the prophecy. But that's a fairly recent book too. What was it? Not even 10 years ago? I think
far less. Well, and don't even forget too, in Revenge of the Sith, when they're talking about the prophecy, Yoda, and people forget this part, Yoda explicitly states that misread the prophecy could have been.
Yeah.
So right, I've always thought that,
but that's not even in it.
Down there.
Him being born of the Force is not even in the prophecy, is what I'm saying. Not in the prequels for sure. Okay. Not in any George Lucas source material.
With what we've known about the prophecy, it's just been that he will bring balance to the Force. It's really all we've ever
That's the main thing. Okay, that is the main thing of it. It's not about him being born. Now, what it can do, and they can still get upset about this because they've been getting upset about it since Disney took over. It may trample on some Legends material, namely one of all three of us, our favorite books, Plagueis. That will bother me, but it bothers me knowing that they probably are going to do this because it's Legends. It's not canon, right? And so so they may trample on that a little bit. And yes, that is annoying. I'm still a Star Wars fan, and there's certain books and things that I do like. I'm still pissed off about what they've been doing with Thrawn because it's not following their own books, goddammit, that I really enjoyed. But it's not trampling on a Chosen One prophecy at all. Okay? I can understand why I viewed that way, because previous to this, as far as I know, unless there's some comic book that changed it, the only person ever born of the Force was Anakin Skywalker. So that's why it's mentally linked with the Chosen One, because he was the only Chosen One and he was the only one born of the Force. So it feels kind of a heretical thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that sacred cow you're not supposed to touch, right? That's only supposed to be reserved for Anakin. You don't do that with anyone else. So I can understand some of the misgivings with it, but the overreaction that it's not destroying the Chosen One prophecy.
Go Palpatimes. Let us know how outraged are you, sir? Doom and gloom me.
As I said earlier, I got blue balls yesterday because I was expecting this to be the nail in the coffin for me as a Star Wars hater. And then I watched it and I was like, do I like it? No. Does it destroy Star Wars? Also no. Two things can be true. I think it's silly. Love the Darth Plagueis novel. But it is Legends. Much as I hate to say it. They, on what you guys would love as objective level, for consistency of a story, do not have to follow Legends. Legends is a different canon. And it breaks my heart. But that is the truth of the matter. So it's like, well, I hate to say it, they can do what they want with it. Ilunga pretty much said everything that could be said about it. It doesn't necessarily break Anakin being born for the Force. It brings up more questions for me. But we know Darth Plagueis figured out how to create life. As fans, we've always just kind of assumed he was the first to do so. And to now just have these random witch tribe be like, oh yeah, we created these twins from the Force who are very, very powerful with the Force, right? Pretty powerful enough to where they take a 8-year-old, right? The same reason they took Anakin was because, okay, even though he probably has some problems, he's very, very powerful, so we have to get him a chance. Same thing with May or Osha. Sorry.
Why are we saying they're? We don't know. Osha bombed out of the Jedi.
Forgive me. It's an assumption. Assuming the rules and laws of the Jedi Order are pretty consistent 100 years back, where they don't like to pick up children who are, going into their adulthood because they've experienced too much in life. They have too many emotional attachments. It would make sense that the reason they did bring Osha on board is because of her potential. And I think even Soul says that, how much potential she has to be a Jedi. So I think the biggest thing for me is I don't like it. I don't hate it. It just brings up more questions for me that I hope are answered.
I'll say for myself, like, I needed an explanation for it, honestly. For you to say that May and Osha were created by the Switch and then immediately kill her off and I think even if we get another flashback, they're not going to explain it. It's just a throwaway line. It's like, come on, bro. Like, tell me what's really going on here.
I've got something real quick if I can jump in. Sorry.
Unless May is a repository of knowledge being ascended now.
It's almost as if, like, if there's not a good reason to do this, I just want to know why do it in the first place. And that's what I'm worried about. If they come back with these next few episodes and there's a good definitive reason that fits with the story and helps these characters, then sure, that's a cool thing. But if it was, like Only said, just some random throwaway line for virtually no reason at all, and it doesn't really change much, right? They could have just been born, mother and mother if they wanted. And I don't know, maybe in Star Wars you can do that. I don't know. Or a mother and father. It's like, why not just have that? But they could be a dyad, right? Unseen for generations. Fine.
No, but
that.
I don't know. I don't want to do the dyad thing. I'm tired of them introducing
I know.
That's already happening. That's already happening.
They're kind of doing it though.
No, I'm tired of them introducing
With
something in one project and spending a whole other project explaining it.
They had a whole mental link without thinking that each other was dead.
Okay, hang on. It's not the first time we've had twins though. Luke and Leia were not a dyad, and they were literally the daughter and son of the Chosen One.
They knew each other was alive. They knew who they were. They felt it was a friendship connection. Osha and May thought each other was dead, and it was manifesting as visions, but it was a mental link between the two.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like with the dyad, they would have to be extremely far more powerful than what they are. I feel like it's too soon to do something like that. Stuff like a dyad that needs to be very, very rare. Okay, like very, very rare.
If they do it, it should be
more
Revan
powerful if they were working together. They're not. That's the problem. They're separated.
But even still,
diametrically opposed.
But then we go back into the whole Anakin thing of him becoming Darth Vader. It's like, well, he technically would have been the most powerful ever, but he became a robot, so he's really not all that powerful anymore.
Which is true.
That's too much. No,
they kept him in old cybernetics because it was more irritating.
Dumb.
You saying it's dumb doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. It does make sense that Anakin was not able to reach his potential because of what happened.
No hands.
But the potential stuff. This is where I get into the annoyance with like the Chosen
dick, baby. I mean, come on.
This person
is
powerful.
Come on, he has a torso.
Sorry, just being like he's powerful just because he's powerful. It's like no, come on. I need a little bit. Anakin's the greatest Jedi ever. They've done that always with Anakin.
Said that. Anakin said that, but Dave Filoni.
No, they've said that for years with Anakin. He's the most powerful Jedi ever simply because he's the chosen one. Okay, that's been a common notion.
Except for Lucas, he says he's a pathetic man. That's the story. He's a pathetic man,
which is true.
He is. He's a fascist. Come on, he's a fascist, cringe, wannabe dictator.
He literally supports the separatists.
He is the chosen one, but he's a pathetic man.
Yeah, he's a chosen one that's chosen to be a piece of shit. So. Did you guys not like the little creation of life thing they got going on here? Do you think that was a good thing to add into this, a bad thing? Because actually, fuck that question. Do you think they're even going to explain it?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No.
We're all going to say no.
Yes.
They're not going to explain it.
In a book.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Shut up. They're not going to explain it.
True.
They're not going to explain it, and the worst part, like, do I like it? No, of course I don't like it, and not because I'm like the holy grail of Anakin. You can't mess with it. It's not that. It's like, did you need it? Did you need it for this story? That's the thing I'm considering. You know what I'm saying? Are these characters that are supposed to be something big for your future? Are they race? Because you're obviously continuing Rey, right? They're not. That's something you reserve for. Sorry. a Rey Skywalker, if that's who you want is going to be your future, right? You don't do that for these characters because they're not going to be, their story might be important for future stories, but those characters are not going to be these longevity of characters that are going to go on to some new era, a new franchise. You know what I mean? So to use that for them, sorry, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get canceled, and I got to say this with the utmost disclaimer. I had zero problems with her having two mothers. Didn't care. I had zero problems with the all women society had going. No problems with it all. None of that bothers me. I have zero problems as long as it's not the story. I don't have any problems with the inclusion of LGBTQ people in the Star Wars. That's fine as long as it's not the story, right? What I do have a problem with is when the director-writer, well, it wasn't director this one, but the writer and showrunner, Leslie Headland, who is a lesbian, injects what is the ultimate, and I say this with the most respect, fever dream of all lesbians to be able to have children without a man. Okay. And I'm not saying that with bitterness, because why wouldn't they? Of course they would want, if you're a lesbian, wouldn't you like to have the kids without having to deal with sperm or a man? Of course you would. So she added that, something that her and other lesbians would all associate with, into this story, almost forcefully, when it wasn't needed to tell the story. Like I said, if it was a character like Rey that was going to go on to do great things and bigger part, okay, then I could at least understand it, why it was needed. But it wasn't needed for this story for these two characters. So it almost felt like, oh, this is my shot. I got to do it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not the main characters of the story. So
that's the only part that bothers me about it. It's like, did you really need it? You know, you kind of blew your load, pun intended, for no reason. You know? It's like it doesn't really add much anymore because these characters aren't going to be super important going forward.
So you don't think we're going to get an explanation about any of this?
No, hell no.
I think they're going to bad batch us, like Palpatine said. No explanation whatsoever. I think there's going to be some explanation on like how the witches might have died, but in terms of how these two were created and everything like that, I don't think so. And honestly, a side note about like the whole Chosen One prophecy we were talking about, according to that Master Apprentice thing, it says a Chosen One shall come, born of no father, and through him will ultimate balance in the Force be restored.
And that's from Master and Apprentice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only line. That's the only place that says that.
Like I brought up earlier, where they say misread the prophecy may have been you know, they might throw a curveball here and really piss people off and be like, no, Yoda was right. The prophecy was misread and they were wrong. Anakin was not the chosen one. It was really Jedi Master Soul the whole time. He was the chosen one.
Can we give some props though to Lee Young Jae? I think he's doing a spectacular job.
Actually, I will say, because we've talked about so many bad things about this episode, but there are some things that did work, and I'm glad you brought him up because all his scenes in this I thought were pretty good. I will say, when I first watched it and he hugged Osha and was like, nothing like this will ever happen, like you will never feel like this again. I will say I really did feel a good emotional connection right there. Like that pulled on the heart a little bit, where I was like, damn. That's a powerful scene.
There's a lot of emotion in his words when he speaks. And this is he just learned English for this.
This is his first English-speaking role, I think, honestly. Yeah. So it's very impressive that he could still give such powerful dialogue, even with it not being his language and everything. And his acting chops are just very good. But that's what kills me about the show, is that there are parts of this that are engaging, interesting, and I'm like, okay, I see the potential, but you're not capitalizing on it. You're just kind of...
I like young Torben. That actor, what's his name? Dean Charles Chapman. Now, you want to talk about exuding Qui-Gon Jinn vibes? That young Torben felt like a mixture of Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And was that the first time we've seen them take a blood sample since the prequels?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah, I think it's the first time they took the blood.
And he took it the same way Qui-Gon did too. Love for him either.
It's just a blood sample. He did the same way.
He didn't say a lot for me to be like all that.
Nah,
interested.
A lot of emotion in his voice. Better than old Torben.
Yes, for sure. But even Cal Naka, like he just kind of showed up, grunted, and you never really saw him again. And he's gonna be.
Well, I mean, he's
in
in
the
the
next
And now
episode.
he's gonna get
How much more do you
off to the
expect him
next
to do?
episode, and we're not gonna care.
That's all he's gonna do.
Chewie has so much emotion to
Chewie
him.
he has personality and just I don't know. And I don't
Chewie
really care.
sounds like my dog when he's whining.
Yeah, I know it's amazing. I'm just saying, like a lot of like, especially with the early Star Wars, a lot of those characters do have like a lot of life to them, where they feel like real people. I think it's a big problem
feels
with
like
this show and
charisma
other shows. Yeah, like a lot of this stuff, like I said about having like fun, and maybe that's not the goal of this series and everything, but like the only decent chuckle part was when Soul was like, "Who is he?" and Kymir was like, "I thought he was with you." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's funny, I guess." But these characters don't have a lot where it makes me go, "Oh, I like them." Like, what am I to say I like about them? Honestly, oh, this one's a very stern person. Like I like Soul because we've seen, the good in him and everything like that.
He
But
has
like
a lot of soul.
he has a lot of soul. And Vernestra, I don't know what Vernestra
No.
is, but she's got nothing going on.
I'll
because
tell you what she is. She's Leslie Hudlin's wife.
Oh, so I wonder how that actor got that role. Yeah. That's
she's been in a bunch of her projects.
What Pal Memes brought up about what I brought up earlier, I got to reference myself, through a couple people. It seems like there's some low-hanging fruit on, like, when they were making the show. It's like, people are going to get upset about this, right? You really casted your wife to play, like, a big jet. Like, it's when people were...
If she was a top actress, I'd get it.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
yeah,
no.
She's not.
Whatever.
Guys, what if she's the Sith? What if she's behind all of it?
Like James Gunn puts his wife in everything, right? She was in Peacemaker. But she's actually a good actress in her own right. You know what I mean? I'm not saying she's A-list, but she's a good actress. Leslie Hudlin's wife, not so much. She's just not that great of an actress.
There's like a part where she like turns and
I'm unbiased because
you.
I didn't even know she was the wife of Leslie, and from the get go. And I still was like, this out of all the things and all the aliens, like you feel the most.
The makeup is atrocious.
It was the makeup. It was
because she was a
major
part.
Really
she's not a major part. That's why.
Yeah,
she didn't want to give her away.
If she's in the background, yeah.
It's stuff like that in the show where you go like, okay, like I really need to understand how this starts and finishes with production and everything, because how does no one look at some of these things and go like, you guys realize you're gonna piss off a lot of people, right? Like you like that's where I can almost understand some of this outrage, where it's like these fandom menace people will accuse Lucasfilm and Star Wars of doing something that they haven't done, but then they'll go and do it. And then they'll be like, well, what are you guys overreacting for? And then people who defend them will be like, well, they're not doing this thing you're accusing them of. But if they were, it's good that they are.
It almost seems like trolling at this point. It seems like trolling.
And that's what's upsetting. Is it's like, are you guys really just trying to piss people off?
It's like Ryan Johnson's Your Snoke 3 sucks, and then in the movie not explain Snoke. Yeah, I brought Last Jedi again somehow.
It's the same thing where it's like, bro, like, okay, I get maybe you're not doing this with ill intent. I'm not going to confuse. I'm not going to attribute malice, what could easily be attributed to ignorance. Maybe they're ignorant on some of this stuff and they don't know what they're doing but it's been years, bro. The Force Awakens came out in 2015. Problems started happening in 2017. It's like in all these projects, it's like,
okay, they're absolutely
when they were doing this one, it's like, you're going to piss people off. So why do it?
Here's the and far be it by me, because I actually chuckle when I see them outraging and losing their shit. It's actually kind of funny.
It's comical because at the end of the day, we're talking about a space
franchise. It is childish.
It's like, but it's at some point, it's like, their children, right? Why are you engaging this? Move on and make
it's like
stuff.
May and Osha pushing each other behind the scenes. It's like, right. You put your hand on your sister, she's gonna do something back. Why would you do that? Like, it's poking the bear. And that's where I'm getting upset with like Lucasfilm a little bit, where it's like, and now at this point you can definitely start pointing fingers at, I guess, Dave Filoni, because he's the creative guy and everything. You just start, thank you so much, Grievous.
Thank you, Grievous.
He's
Reborn.
He's been around for a long time too.
Does he remember the Chatooine show?
He remembers the Chatooine before it was Chatooine. You guys remember?
You remember?
I love to
remember.
And you remember when Lucasfilm tried to piss fans off years ago? And you remember them doing it like last night? It's just that's just what kills me. Is it's like it's a low hanging fruit of like, are you actively trying to turn away people who are saying they love this franchise, even though you might not agree with them and they might have horrible complaints, they're still paying custom. Like
I'll
people
say this:
hate watch this stuff because they love Star Wars.
They're not. I don't. It's not like they go into the writers' room with a plan of, oh, this will piss them off. That's not what I see happening.
No,
what I do see happening is they're gonna get pissed off whatever we do. So fuck it.
That's what I see. It's the lack of care. It seems at times. Right. It's almost like an ignorance of like, oh, we're just gonna do whatever the hell we want to do.
They're not gonna be happy whatever we do. So
exactly, and it's like, so you're not even gonna try. You know, like really.
Well, and this is a big point I kind of brought up earlier. Is we have that 11 million number that was released by Variety, which is a concrete number. But I'm really curious if we start seeing the Samba and Nelson stuff, we can base that on its own data, not outside data. I'm really curious to see if there's a big drop with these next few episodes, because as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, being like empathetic to a casual fan.
Oh, there definitely will be a big drop in the next episode.
There's going to be a big drop. There's nothing
and
as
us
hardcore.
It seem to happen. Sure. It seems to happen around this episode 3-4 mark.
Well, it's because they know what they're doing. They knew they had to release the first 2 episodes to try to get a lot of people into this, and then this 3rd episode not going to do all that. And that's why the 4th one is probably just going to be the big action battle to get everybody back in. But you've seen this with, like you guys were saying, with some of the Star Wars shows, like with Ahsoka, and we can look at this with our own ratings on Chatooine and people with other YouTube channels and Star Wars, just Star Wars in general. The first couple episodes of Ahsoka, the first 2 that they dropped, I think, did solid. Huge drop off. And it kept dropping off, and then it picked up when Anakin came back, and then it kept picking up a little bit and staying consistent. And they dropped 3 episodes at once.
There are anecdotal sources you can use to kind of conclude that, yeah, people give things a try, they give them a shot, and you can say they're being unfair with how they watch it or whatever. That's all bullshit, because at the end of the day,
but not everybody.
They are customers, and when you lose those, that's not good for your company at the end of the day.
Well, and it's not like this is the thing people talk about, like, oh, anyone who has any criticism about this stuff is like a bigot, racist, homophobe. It's like, I know that's not everybody who says that, but that is
that's not as running as hard as it was back in 2017.
No, that's true. But this idea of the people who are turning away from the show, and I see this a lot now with these positive Star Wars channels and stuff, where they're just like, well, yeah, honestly, maybe if you don't like Star Wars, it's time for you to take a break. And it's like, well, hang on, bro. Come on.
But at the end of the day, but here's the thing, only people did that. People are doing that. At the end of the day, people are doing that.
Or how about this?
That's what I'm saying.
How about this? No, what pisses me off about those people, and I'll tell you, because now we got to get into a Lunga fucking rant, okay? This is what pisses me off about those fucking people. Okay? Yeah, boomer moment. I'm going to point, too. Put up the Star Wars meltdown, because here's the thing that pisses me off about them is because I am a fucking Star Wars fan, and I sit here and watch the garbage you give me, not like the other people who just wanted to hate watch, right? I go into each, how many times do I tell you guys this? I'm going into this like it's the first Star Wars thing I watch. I want to see wow me. I'm giving you the opportunity to wow me with every show. I'm giving you the opportunity to wow me with every fucking episode. I'll see, wait till the end. I need to see the whole thing. Even Boba fucking Fett, man. Even the Bad Batch. We're like, let's see what happens, right? I'll be at least somewhat satisfied if they all died at the end, right? They didn't. You couldn't even do that for me, okay? So don't tell me I need to take a break, because I want to see good content. And even though Disney has done nothing but disappoint me 75% of the time, I still want to watch, because I'm hoping that they're going to get better. That's the kind of fucking fan you want, right? Not the one who just gives up on fucking Disney. Fuck you. No, I'm like, you know what? I'm like an abused wife. I keep giving the fucking chance, okay? I'll change, I promise, okay?
You don't know Star Wars like I do. You don't know what he's like behind the scenes.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. There is saying that to a friend in a caring way, where, like, I've talked to some people who I'm close with where they genuinely, like, in real life, they stopped watching Star Wars. And I grew up with these people, really close friends.
Yeah.
They stopped watching, and we've talked about it, and there's a caring moment of, you know what, you might just need to stop watching because it's not good for your own mental health, because you are trying so hard to like this, but it just frustrates you time and time again. There's that aspect of it. But then there's what these people online do, which is doing it out of spite.
Right,
and a lack of care
and spiteful.
And we all have to realize the people we see online who are overly positive and extremely overly negative and hate watch, that is such a small number. Like Palpatine was just saying about friends who just like stop watching.
Yeah,
that's the ends of the bell curve. that's the majority of the people tuning out. If 50% of the audience like tuned out, I would say maybe 5 to 10%, or maybe even as most as 15, were probably like hate watching Fandom Menace people who are just Disney's woke, go broke. I hate this thing and it's woke trash, but I had to watch it to prove it. But most people who are tuning out are just casual people who probably watch
like,
all the Marvel
hey,
stuff, all the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
I want to try this out.
It's kind of boring,
and
they watch it. That's it.
Clearly, there's a
no
problem. Exactly. Clearly, there's a problem where it's just like, oh, I don't, and I can, and that's what kills me is people don't have a nuanced opinion of being able to take up their Star Wars fan thing. And like Lunga was saying, we don't want to dislike these shows. We want to how many times, God damn, especially on this show, how many years? It's been almost 3 or 4 now. Have we said this was our most anticipated Star Wars project? And I have to say, 3 episodes in, I'm extremely disappointed. And it's not because I didn't want to like this show. I love the Sith. I cannot tell you how many hours I can spend talking about the Sith.
Even the week before the show premiered, we were off. This is after we saw the first trailer, and me and Only were kind of like, this doesn't look that good. Then the rest of the trailers came out, and we're like, oh, this is actually looking pretty cool. And now it's like, well, it's not that it's straight balls. It's just kind of like,
and it could be so much better. I think for at least us 3, who, let's be honest, we can be critical. We're not Fandom Menace critical, okay? We're not like that.
No,
but
I am.
We can be very critical. But even with the 2 mothers, even with the forced birth of these kids, if all the other stuff we said was lacking in this was in it, those would have been blips.
Wouldn't care
exactly.
less. Could
because
not care less.
We're not calling this woke garbage or anything like that.
The Wokeolite.
Like there are problems with this that we have narratively, with the directing, with the editing, the pacing of the show, the sets and everything, the quality of time they put into this and stuff like that. Like it's that is what at most turns people off. And yes, honestly, some surface level stuff, no matter what your political affiliation is, a lot of the political stuff in modern shows turn people off. This isn't like The Boys where they lean into it and they make fun of both sides or anything like that. This is a Star Wars show. So if people do see something like this where they perceive it, maybe it's not intentional, maybe it's not political.
Let's be honest,
but they perceive it as political, they're going to tune out.
Let's be honest. People who are on the fence, if it's bad and that's on there, that's like the straw then.
It's
not necessarily it's not the reason, but it's like, okay, it's not a good episode. And this on top, all right.
So, I want to jump in here real quick. That's kind of the point I want to make, and kind of piggyback off of Only's point of like they're going to tune out because they see that in a lot of people. A lot of people do, of course, that is a thing. But I do think it's out of the people who will stop watching, I do believe it's probably a loud minority that would stop watching because of the quote unquote political aspects and political controversies around it. I genuinely think the majority of people who stop watching is going to be because the show is just not that interesting. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to that.
Yeah,
as far as this episode goes, after the first 2, I think it was interesting enough.
The first 2 were an okay start, but even I was like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's okay. It was good.
We all said we were seeing what happens next. At this point, I still have some interest, but it's definitely been lessened. It's definitely like, okay, like, you know.
Well, like you said, we're almost to the halfway point, right?
Well, because next week is the halfway point.
The next week is the halfway point. That's why.
And that's a good point. That's kind of, as a fan, that's kind of all I have left. I'm being real.
Exactly.
So if they pull a grunt with this, where it's just like some Inquisitor who just gets blown to smoke and gas, not that inherently and of itself is a bad thing, but it's when that's all I had left to kind of look forward to. It's like Snoke in the sequel trilogy. It's like that was the big thing that people were like just grasping onto. Yeah, Force Awakens is a remake, blah, 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 but Snoke is really interesting, so I really want to know what happens with him.
And it's not like Merrick in Ahsoka, right? We got built up because he looked cool, right? But they didn't he wasn't like a major character.
He's not a big part of the story. He's just an Inquisitor.
Leslie Heaven's word. This is investigating and revolving around the Sith, right? That's what you want to do a show with this. This is what so you better give me the Sith, not some.
And you better give me a lot of it too within the next couple episodes. We got another one.
Thank you, Exalt.
Thank you so much, Exalt. Big shout out to our members.
Excited for more of the show, and shout out to y'all. Thank you very much, Exalt.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks.
So before we wrap up the show, we always got to give our ratings. And this is going to be a weird one for me because I feel like hindsight is going to be a big deal with this episode. I have to see you have to see how this plays out. But Lunga, start us out. If you were to give this episode Destiny is what it was called, which is weird because the last two were like Lost and Found, and then the other one was Justice/Revenge, which is clearly talking about like Osha and May.
It's almost like
Destiny.
It's almost like they fulfilled the destiny of what people were saying, right?
What would you rate this? Sir?
I'll start out with this. I got one little twist. I think the way the story's going, Osha is going to be the one that ends up turning to the dark side and not May. That's what I think is going to happen. But if I had to rate this, man, it is literally, boy. I'm still want to know where the story goes, especially with the Sith tie, and I want to see how it plays out with May and Osha and what the Jedi did. You know what I mean? Because remember, we're supposed to also see this is also going to be the cracks in the wall that lead to what happens in to the Jedi in the prequels. So there's that aspect of it too on the other side of the coin. So I'm still interested in that, but this episode, everything else, I'm giving it a 3. And it only has a 3 because of the high points of some of the acting, and the potential of what I'm waiting for possibly to come. But everything around the acting and the directing, Kogonada, like I said, overall did a good job. I don't think he was leading the story as much as far as just framing what was given to him. You know what I mean? He did a pretty good job directing. So that's where the 3 comes from. If the acting wasn't as good as it was and the directing wasn't as good as it was, this could have been a Book of Bob episode. This could have been a fucking 1 for me. At that point. But at least I'll say this: it has at least more direction than the Book of Bob had. It at least has more interesting stuff going on than Book of Bob had. There's something there at least for me to bite onto, hopefully. So yeah, it's a 3.
Oh man, it is hard to rate this in a fair manner because we still have a lot of the story that will hopefully be developed and explained. But in of itself, the decision making for me felt very unnecessary and wrong. I think I'm with Lunga. I don't have much to say. I apologize. I don't have much to say. I think it's right at a 3 for me. I like to go lower than Lunga, because I'm all
just
doomed.
Just because you have to go lower than me.
I don't think I can go lower than 3 because
if I gave a 1, he probably can I give
0?
a 0?
It fucking sucked. I hated it.
Is -1 a possible answer?
Yeah, straight 0. But it's in hindsight, if the next 4 episodes are pretty good to a pretty good story and payoff, then I'm going to look back on this episode probably more fondly. If the rest of the season is just, whack-a-mole and there's not a whole lot of coherent story going on, and the Sith they just dropped the Sith and it's just bad, then yeah, I'm going to look back at this and be like, this is one of the, it all sucked. So I don't know. It could go either way. So 3 out of 10 for me right now.
It's going to go so bad. They're going to give us the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian as episode 4 and 5 for this. That's what's gonna...
At this point,
what if in like episode 6 and 7, it's just the fucking Phantom Menace? Like they drop an episode and you're like, yo, is this the first half of the Phantom Menace?
It's one of those like edits of the Phantom Menace that's submerged down to like an hour and 20 minutes long because most of the Phantom Menace sucks. It's something like that.
Like, yo, am I tripping or am I watching the Phantom Menace right now? Like, this is weird.
Before you said you brought up Phantom Menace, before you get into yours only, on TikTok, there's these guys that do that deep fake of Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon watching. He was sitting there. Qui-Gon was watching this show and about how the Jedi only pulls their lightsaber out if they tend to use it, and he showed him thinking back all the times Qui-Gon pulled out his lightsaber.
Yo, penny could drop. That motherfucker just drew that thing out.
A toilet with it.
Oh my god. So for my take though on this episode, I will say on Twitter, I gave it a 6 out of 10 off my initial reaction, and after rewatching it a second time earlier before, my score has changed.
Yeah, Star Wars shilling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was shilling real hard. Well, because when I first watched it last night, I remembered this morning. I was like, I didn't really pay all that much attention. I think some of the boring scenes are just kind of like tuned out. But rewatching it today and really just kind of sitting down and like focusing in on it, it's it ain't that solid. But like we've all kind of said, like it does depend on how the story plays out because it could make this episode look a lot better. But in of itself, what I like about it was that I do think the directing was better. I do think Soul was the highlight of this. He's kind of been the highlight of the series so far and everything. And they pull up interesting plot points and developments. They just don't explore them in a way that I feel like has merited a 44-minute long episode, the longest episode so far of the series. And because of that 4-minute runtime, I'm gonna give this one a 4. I don't think it's the worst Star Wars episode of all time or it's just unbearable to watch. But I think because it's got so much in limbo of what is going to come next, it's kind of like with The Bad Batch. Like there's some episodes of The Bad Batch that I think aren't bad to go back and rewatch because of how the story played out. You get that with Breaking Bad. You see how the seeds are planted for future things and future episodes. It makes the series and makes the episodes a little bit better. We could get that with this, but at the moment, this episode alone has derailed a lot of interest that I had in this series and a lot of faith. And that's why I'm taking away those 2 points that I initially gave it. Because upon rewatch, I'm like, oh my God, the acting with some of these kids was really, really bad. The dialogue writing in a lot of parts are really, really bad. And it does kind of feel like a waste of time, honestly. Like if we can look at Osha's flashback May's flashback, and it basically summarized everything that we just saw in this past episode, then they'll be like, well, damn, what the hell is all this for? So 4 out of 10 for me, man. I'm not enthusiastic, but I will be here next Wednesday night live on Chatooine watching this bad boy.
I do miss that Goldman wasn't here for this one because I really think we haven't heard from him today yet, guys. So we haven't talked to him about the episode, what he thinks about it, but I have a feeling it's going to be just as bad as ours.
He made a post saying this episode reminded me of why I love The Last Jedi so much, and I didn't know how to take it. I don't know if I was like, did you love this episode? You're like, man, this is
people were saying The Last Jedi was better than this. That's why.
Full on Fandom Menace people saying like the whole like hold my beer thing of Leslie Headland after it's like The Last Jedi and stuff. It's like, oh my gosh.
That's why he's saying that.
I'll be honest, bro. I don't know. I think I would, if you gave me the option right now to watch The Last Jedi or this episode.
The Last Jedi, yeah.
What? No, I'm picking this episode. I'm getting that one and done. 44 minutes in and out. You can't convince me. Like, because with The Last Jedi, like I start pausing it because
at least Luke's
arguing.
a Jedi still. At least he does something. At least he.
Yeah. I love that slow motion Matrix bullshit. That's what started all this.
This show has that too.
Yeah, and is it better for it, Palpatine?
It wasn't slow mo. It was fast action. It wasn't slow mo. There was no slow mo.
Whatever. It looks slow to me.
It looks a little corny.
I like Force Fu. Force Fu.
I like it too.
I'm all in for Force Fu.
Yeah, but I need internalization of character.
We're at 3.5 out of 10 for this episode.
Pretty much.
Things together. Pretty much.
Only because Only decided to be the shill this week. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Didn't realize 4 out of 10 was such a favorable rating.
He tells us, but he's not here tonight.
Originally, it was a 6, buddy. Okay.
Yeah, 6 out. Yeah. When you posted that, I was like, "What the fuck is this dude smoking?"
She's a witch, bro.
Weed.
She came down in a bubble, bro.
And it still wasn't enough to make him praise it more than 6 out of 10.
Grow up, Lunga.
Grow up, bro.
God damn. You guys remember that meme?
It's funny too. The praises I've seen from people and I've seen a lot is the most thing people can say good about this is it did interesting ideas. I'm like, if that's the best thing you got for why something is good, it's probably not that good.
It had a nice concept.
Here's the thing though. Interesting ideas is the spark of what makes something good. If it starts with a bad idea, it's never, but if it starts with a bad idea, I don't care how good the execution is.
Sure.
Last Jedi. It doesn't start with a bad idea. It doesn't matter
the
how good the
was bad too, but
is. Okay. Well, I mean, we know it was beautifully shot, directed, all that other good shit.
Oh,
okay?
well, in terms of that, yeah.
But you gotta say, so at least if the idea is sound, if there's some good ideas there and they're sound, you can salvage it. That's the point. So we'll see.
If all you can say is the ideas were interesting, though, it's like, okay. Yeah.
You gotta have good ideas and you have to have good execution.
Well, again,
this show didn't have the good execution.
No. Having different interpretations of the Force, I think that's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. Having this that investigating the Sith and how an Acolyte plays into it, that's a good idea. There's good ideas there. He's got to execute.
Well, yeah, they just haven't given any of it really big substance. Where we've lost 2 Jedi, and I have no care about either of their deaths.
I don't think we were supposed to.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like in Andor, some of these deaths, like even Tim, who died in like the first 3 episodes of Andor, he still had a little bit of a, oh, that was her boyfriend. Like, dang.
But these weren't Jedis, man. These were normal people that were caught up in it. There's a difference there. These were normal people.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't matter if they were Jedi or people to me, though. It's the fact that we got like a little bit of scenes with them actually being normal people and something interesting.
But that's why you feel with them. You can associate with normal people. You can't associate with a Jedi.
No, I'm not talking about normal people. Jedi talk too. I'm sure Jedi laugh, smile, love, hate. Well, apparently not hate, but still, like, they have emotions. They're people, they're persons, human beings, and other alien critters and whatnot. I just have to feel a connection to these people to actually care about what's going on.
No, you can't feel a connection to people who have vowed to not have attachments. So you can't.
All right, if you're telling me I can't love Obi-Wan Kenobi, I don't know what I'm doing here, Lunga. All right?
Hello there.
And Luke Skywalker, that's my fucking boy. But anywho, tune in next Wednesday night, ladies and gentlemen.
God help us.
We're going to cover another episode of the Acolyte.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Guys, it's okay, though, because we got, we got 4 more weeks. No, sorry. We can't hate watch this show. This can't be like the Bad Batch, all right?
No.
This show might get better, but we have at least 4 to 5 more weeks of the Acolyte. We'll review every episode, then we'll review the series at the end. Then after that, we'll do a recap of the season 4 of The Boys. After that, we'll do some House of the Dragon episodes. And after that, we'll do some Rings of Power Sunday episodes. Which one? House of the Dragon or The Boys?
House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon.
I just finished season 1 the other day. I rewatched it. Yeah. I was like, all right, let me see how this goes.
I'm sincerely considering getting a banner, raising a banner. I think I'm going to go with Targaryens or they're all Targaryens.
Rhaenyra,
but the
or Alicent.
Yeah,
the High Towers.
Rhaenyra. Yeah, Rhaenyra.
I have so much to say about it in our episodes covering House of the Dragon because I'm gonna be honest, I hate both of them. I mean, it's both of their faults. Especially Rhaenyra. Yeah. I have so much to say about that little witch. But anywho, that's for future episodes. So tune in next Wednesday night. We're going to be covering episode 4 of The Acolyte. Thank you guys for watching. See you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.
What?